From the headquarters of Telesur English in Quito, Ecuador, I'm Carla Gonzalez, and this is From the South. Riot police have fired tear gas and pepper spray into a crowd of thousands of demonstrators demanding the resignation of Puerto Rican Governor Ricardo Rosselló. Police also fired rubber bullets at protesters who have been on the streets since early in the afternoon. The confrontation marked an escalation of political crisis that began over the weekend when a social media chat between high-ranking political figures administered by Rosselló was leaked, revealing homophobic, racist, and misogynist discourse. Allegations of corruption have also been leveled against Rosselló in recent weeks. And we spoke with Rafael Bernabe, spokesperson for the Citizens' Victory Movement, the political party that organized the demonstrations on the political anger in Puerto Rico.
Well, two things are new. One of them is that last Tuesday, the FBI arrested several former members of Rosselló's cabinet, in particular the former Secretary of Education, and accused her formally of acts of corruption. This is a person that the labor movement and many educators in Puerto Rico had struggled against for a long time, but the accusations have confirmed what people have been saying over many years. The second thing is that it was revealed that the governor over many months had this so-called private chat, an internet private chat with all of his cabinet members and collaborators and so on, and his consultants. And this document is devastating. It's full of racist, sexist comments, jokes about people who died during the Hurricane Maria, jokes about women, jokes about working people. There are elements of conspiracy to make sure that the students are able to frame the students and accuse them of violent acts and so on. So there are many things that came out in this chat. It's about a 100-page document full of really terrible stuff, and that has really brought out the anger of people. There's no word to describe it but anger, and people are really out on the street saying we don't want to be ruled. We don't want to be governed by somebody who has these type of ideas in their head. So they are demanding the resignation of the governor.
Now to Honduras, where police have continued to violently repress demonstrations by students who are protesting against attempts by the government to privatize the country's health and education sectors. The students who were set to march on a main boulevard were met with heavily armed police forces who fired rubber bullets and tear gas to disperse them. Various sectors of Honduran society have in recent weeks been protesting against the privatization plans, which they say are going to hurt the poor in the country, considered as one of the most unequal societies in Latin America. Police have arrested several people in New York as they protested the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, commonly known as ICE. Activist group Rise and Resist blocked traffic in central New York, calling for the closure of ICE and its detention camps. One organizer said about 40 people were arrested. This comes after President Donald Trump had vowed to launch mass deportation raids over the weekend. But reports say there were only a few low-profile operations across a few cities.
Our government's policies, I don't even want to name the president who's involved, but he is responsible for putting children in camps, for not giving them food or medical attention, and for imprisoning children who need to be with their parents. We want those camps closed. This is not an American policy. This is not a democratic policy. History is repeating itself in the ugliest way imaginable.
Meanwhile, the U.S. Department of Justice has announced new migration regulations set to disproportionately affect asylum seekers from Central America. The DOJ has published a new rule stating that asylum seekers who have passed through another country will not be able to apply for asylum at the U.S. border. It means that those who hazard a journey to the U.S. through Mexico from countries in Central America with legitimate asylum claims may be ineligible to make their case. It's scheduled to go into effect on Tuesday, but the regulation is expected to be challenged in the courts. And following the announcement by the DOJ, Mexico's foreign minister said that the new immigration law does not make Mexico a safe third country. Marcelo Ebrard said that such a decision can't be made unilaterally by the U.S. administration.
This rule is a limitation on the right of asylum with which Mexico is not in agreement. We have a completely opposite legal principle, which is that asylum is political asylum in Mexico, and it's very improbable that Mexico would deny asylum to someone who is requesting it for reason of political persecution. Mexico's whole tradition has been in favor of that. No, this does not relate to a safe third country. Being a safe third country would require Mexico's National Congress to pass an agreement with legal implications. So, this cannot be done in a unilateral manner by the US. It is bilateral. It could be multilateral, but it cannot be done unilaterally.
And there has been outrage in the U.S. and internationally over President Trump's remarks that 4 progressive Democratic Party congresswomen of color should go back and help fix the totally broken and crime-infested places from which they came from. Trump referred to the so-called squad made up of Somali-born Ilhan Omar, who now represents Minnesota, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York, Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts, and Rashida Tlaib of Michigan. They have been very critical of his government and its immigration policies. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who has also been at loggerheads with the squad, called Trump's comments xenophobic.
Despite the occupant of the White House attempts to marginalize us and to silence us, please know that we are more than 4 people. We ran on a mandate to advocate for and to represent those ignored, left out, and left behind. Our squad is big. Our squad includes any person committed to building a more equitable and just world. And that is the work that we want to get back to.
This is a president who has equated neo-Nazis with those who protest against them in Charlottesville. This is a president who has openly violated the very value our country aspires to uphold: equality under the law, religious liberty, equal protection, and protection from persecution. And to distract from that, he's launching a blatantly racist attack on 4 duly elected members of the United States House of Representatives, all of whom are women of color. This is the agenda of white nationalists.
Coming up, workers in Ecuador continue a strike against the government of Lenin Moreno. Don't go away.
Acompañamos a los pueblos que resisten en cada una de sus luchas.
Somos esa ventana que se abre para visibilizarlos entre fronteras.
Thursdays, only on Telesur.
为了保持身体健康，我冥想。
Para mantenerme saludable, yo corro.
To keep myself healthy, I study.
Για να διατηρηθώ υγιής, τρέφομαι σωστά.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo bailo.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo purifico mi espíritu a través del cuerpo. ¿Y tú?
Get your body. Tuesdays, only on Telesur.
Welcome back. Workers, campesinos, and indigenous groups are on strike against the government of Lenin Moreno in Ecuador. Protesters are marching against possible labor reforms, rumored regressive taxation through a rise in VAT, and massive layoffs in the public sector. Social movements also criticize the government's policies, which benefit large-scale landowners and multinational companies. They also condemn the growth of mining and oil extraction industries, as well as the government's desire to allow the United States military to have a presence on the Galapagos Island. The strike began on Monday and is expected to continue until July 19th. The demonstrators are calling for an end to what they say is the worst government in history. Citizens in Arequipa, Peru started an indefinite strike on Monday. They opposed the Tía María mining project, saying it will put their lands and well-being at risk. Our correspondent Jaime Herrera has more on this.
Demonstrations continue during the first day of an indefinite strike in the city of Arequipa. The community in this area is strongly opposed to Tía María mining project, which according to them is being pushed by the government of Martín Vizcarra. The project puts at risk more than 13,000 hectares of land in this zone. According to them, this mining project would affect the quality of water in the area, damaging the environment as a whole. It is also important to mention that today's protests moved to the South Pan American Highway, one of the most important highways in the country, as more protests are expected for tomorrow.
Our correspondent Jaime Herrera from Peru. And we continue in that country. Several indigenous communities gathered on Sunday in the region of Loreto to protest after an oil spill contaminated their water and lands. The protesters marched on the oil reservoir's premises, demanding basic services for their homes, such as clean water and a sewage system. However, the state-owned oil company has reportedly accused the locals of intentionally rupturing the oil pipeline. The city of Lima declared a state of emergency after the oil spill, as it was reported to have affected about 1,000 households.
El Morona is a district where oil is extracted. There's been more than 40 years of oil exploitation here. Look at the state we are in. Without basic services, water or sewage, we don't have anything. There are 79 communities in El Morona. We must continue with this fight. We must not decline and support our leaders who are fighting in Station 5.
In Chile, dozens of people have taken to the streets of the southern city of Osorno to protest over a fuel spill, which left the city without drinking water for 4 days. Some 1,000 liters of fuel spilled into River Rahue, contaminating Osorno's water supply. Some 200,000 people have been affected by the incident, and their water supply still hasn't been reinstated in many areas. Local authorities are now threatening water company Los Lagos with hefty fines.
There are a lot of vulnerable people who don't have anyone to help them. There are people who live at home and don't have anyone to walk 5 or 6 blocks to get a liter of water.
The Bolivian President Evo Morales has announced a plan to fight violence against women. Among the different measures, Morales said it would push for femicides to be officially considered crimes against humanity. The president made the announcement surrounded by a number of ministers, lawmakers, and activists during a special session of the Cabinet for Women. Morales said that the rate of femicides in Bolivia is highly worrying and that the responsibility for eradicating it lies with both the government and society as a whole. Bolivia has the highest rate of femicides per capita in South America. Over 70 women have been killed due to gender-based violence in 2019 alone.
We have prepared an emergency plan made up of 10 points. We are declaring the fight against femicides and violence against women a national priority. During this meeting, we have prioritized the fight against femicides, and the plurinational state will continue to work the rights of women of all ages.
The Jibara International Film Festival has come to an end in Cuba, so let's take a closer look at how it showcased the unique work of filmmakers from around the world.
The Jibara Film Festival ended with the Best Film Showcase received the prestigious Lucia Award. Among those awarded was Puerto Rican actor Benicio del Toro, who received an honorary award for his many contributions to Latin American cinema.
I want to thank the people of Gibraltar for leading this festival and to all who work to make this beautiful dream a reality, the dream of Humberto Solás.
Over 50 films were in competition, coming from places as diverse as Germany, China, the United Kingdom, Canada, Spain, and Cuba. The Cuban-German collaboration El Viaje Extraordinario de Celeste García, directed by Arturo Infante, won in the category of Best Feature Film. Spanish actress María Isabel Díaz, who played the lead in the film, also won the award for Best Female Performance. The closing ceremony was held at the emblematic Jibá Movie Theater in Guevara's Historic Center. Here, Costa Rican director Ishtar Yacine Gutiérrez received the Best Director award for her film Dos Fridas. Her film also won the award for Best Cinematography. It was based on the relationship between Mexican icon Frida Kahlo and her nurse. The Guevara Film Festival is not only an opportunity to showcase finished films, but there's a space for developing scripts and unfinished films to compete for funding. Festival director Jorge Perugorria also came out to thank everyone who made the festival possible and officially opened the submission process for next year's festival.
Thank you to all that have supported us during this difficult time for Cuba. I stand against the economic blockade imposed on our island.
Despite the 50-year-old U.S. blockade on Cuba, this competition continues, showcasing the best films from Cuba and from around the world.
After the break, South African former President Jacob Zuma is under the spotlight once again over corruption allegations. Stay with us.
为了保持身体健康，我冥想。
Para mantenerme saludable, yo corro.
To keep myself healthy, I study.
Για να διατηρηθώ υγιής, τρέφομαι σωστά.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo bailo.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo purifico mi espíritu a través del cuerpo. ¿Y tú?
Get Your Body. Tuesdays, only on Telesur.
Thank you for joining us again. The former South African President Jacob Zuma has appeared before an inquiry into allegations of corruption for the second day in a row. Zuma's lawyers are seeking to bring proceedings to a halt, pointing to the line of questioning. The former president also announced that he had received a death threat.
That we just thought I should put on record something for us to know.
Yes.
Yesterday night between 7 and 8, my PA that from the ANC side was phoned by a person she does not know. And this person said, "You must tell Zuma that we are going to kill him. We'll also kill his children, as well as some people around him." So she informed me this morning. And I'm sure, Chair, you recall that I said a lot about how my life has been attempted.
And the accusations against the former president involve his relationship with the Gupta family, which has been accused of influencing cabinet appointments and winning lucrative state contracts illegally. The African National Congress Secretary General Ace Magashule argued why such inquiries are formed selectively.
Let us assume
and your young black companies are getting many projects, but we can get 20 projects, which is worth 100 million. But one white company gets one project, which is 1.3 billion. And you guys are not actually looking into all those things. Corruption is linked to a black person, to color. No. Otherwise, you call it collusion. When people colluded during the stadium, you're not investigating that. There's no commission set about all those things. And South Africans cannot be stupid, and we can't keep quiet forever.
Our correspondent Matuba Madlaji has the latest on Zuma's case.
And there was a dramatic start to the second day of testimony of former President Jacob Zuma, who told the commission at the beginning that his PA received an anonymous call telling her that President Jacob Zuma must watch out for his life and that of his family and those who are close to him. It's basically a death threat that President Jacob Zuma received, and he told the commission this at the beginning of his testimony this morning. And his testimony also got off to a very slow start today with his counsel, or his lawyers rather, complaining that the line of questioning by the commission lawyers was that of cross-examination, and they were highlighting that this was not a court proceedings, but rather an inquiry that seeks to corroborate information from other witnesses. But the Deputy Chief Justice, who's chairing these proceedings, postponed the proceedings for about an hour to reach a consensus between the lawyers for the former president and those of the commission. But they have since reached a consensus, and questioning resumed for the former president, who has since been denying everything that's been said about him by previous witnesses, who include very senior public servants who worked under his presidency. But it's still going to resume. But then it remains to be seen if his counsel will let all of these questions be asked in the way they've been asking since they've been complaining about the fairness for former President Jacob Zuma in this whole inquiry. It's back to you, studio.
Thank you, Matuba Madlaji from Johannesburg. And Ugandan musician turned politician Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, known by the stage name of Bobby Wine, has said he will challenge President Yoweri Museveni in the 2021 presidential elections.
I will challenge President Museveni on behalf of the People Power movement. The regime is extremely scared of our arrival. Extremely scared, because we are masses, we're young people, and we are completely detached from, we are completely disconnected from all the older baggages. So yes, we know that the regime is going to try anything within their reach to block us from contesting.
Zimbabwe's annual inflation rate hit 175% in June, according to a report released on Monday. The inflation figures come after fuel prices were raised by 16% on Saturday. Residents in Harare have raised concerns over rocketing food prices and long power cuts. Zimbabwe previously faced hyperinflation for 10 years, until it abandoned the use of its own currency and adopted the US dollar, along with other foreign currencies in 2009.
Life is becoming tougher for us because we do not have money to buy diesel, and the price increase means only those who are rich can afford it.
People are buying in small quantities, especially those who want to cook for their family. They come to buy a bottle of cooking oil to last 2 or 3 days while they look for more money.
Authorities in the Democratic Republic of Congo have confirmed the first Ebola case in the country's northeast region, where more than 1 million people live. The health ministry reported that the infected man is an evangelist who returned by bus to the city of Goma on Sunday after spending several days in the city of Butembo, one of the current epicenters of the disease. According to authorities, the patient contracted the virus during his mission in Butembo, where he preached in 7 churches. The evangelist, as well as all passengers who traveled on the same bus, have been placed in isolation to prevent the disease from spreading.
Nevertheless, we cannot be too careful.
The World Health Organization advised that this case could present more challenges in containing the epidemic in the country.
The identification of the case in Goma could potentially be a game changer in this epidemic. Goma is a city of 2 million people near the border with Rwanda and is a gateway to the region and the world. We're confident in the measures we're put in place and hope that we will see no further transmission of Ebola in Goma. Nevertheless, we cannot be too careful. I have therefore decided to reconvene the emergency committee as soon as possible to assess the threat of this development.
The world has continued to witness a steady decline in the number of new HIV infections and deaths caused by AIDS-related illnesses. A report by the United Nations HIV/AIDS program has revealed that the number of new infections declined by about 16% between 2010 and 2018. About 770,000 people died from AIDS-related illnesses in 2018, which is a significant reduction from 1.7 million deaths in 2004. This progress has been attributed to improved access to HIV testing and treatment services. And with that news, we end our news brief, but you can find all of our stories by going to our website, telesurenglish.net. And be sure to also join us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Telesur English, I'm Carla Gonzalez. Thank you for watching.